All right, we are live. And today, what I wanted to showcase is creating a new symphony in Composer. So, the other video that I did a permanent store of wealth, a 70, 10, 10, 10. And so, what I want to showcase here is creating that 70, 10, 10, 10, but in a leveraged version. So let's just scroll down here and we can see, let's go down. It's going to be in the P's here. There it is. So you can see I have a couple of versions. So I have permanent store of wealth, which has multiple ETFs per grouping. Then I have permanent store of wealth, which is just 4 ETFs. So it's just one ETF per grouping. So you have the 70, the 10, the 10, the 10. So each of those just has one. And then I created, yesterday, I created a leverage version, which is similar to this one here in that it's multiple ETFs per grouping. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a leverage version, but with just one ETF per grouping. So let's, so right here is the 4 ETFs. So it's going to be similar to this, but it's going to be the leverage version. So the way to create a new symphony is this. We're going back and forth on the screens. Let's see here. Okay. So you see here, new symphony. So let's click on new symphony. Okay. And this is what's going to show up. These are some pre-made ones that they've kind of shown, so you can look at ones that they've created. And then we want to go here. We want to go to create new. Okay, so here we are. And so what I did here is I also sometimes when I'm trying to create like a permutation of another one, I'll have that one open on another screen just in case I forget exactly what I'm doing or wanted to compare and contrast. So the first thing is we want to go weight specified 70%. So back here, so we want to go 70. Okay, we're going to lean in, go 70. Okay, so there we go. And then here it's key. We don't want to add an ETF. We want to add a group. So again, this is what you can kind of do with M1 or motif investing when it existed. This is something that, is unique to Composer. So we're going to go group and we're going to name it equities. So if you remember from the last time, it's 70, 10, 10, 10. Equities, 70%. Real estate, bonds, commodities. So we're going to add, so we're going to click here, make sure it's there. There it is. Okay. And so now we are going to add UPRO as the main asset here. Okay. And there we go. So now we're going to click here. And we're going to set the weight at 10. Okay. 0. And we are going to create a group. And we're going to call this bonds. So there we go. Bonds. So now I'm going to go here, add the asset. So for bonds, the leverage version that had the bonds, the last one had TMF and TYD. One is the midterm, one is the long term. So on this, since I'm only going to choose one, we're just going to go TMF, okay, as the main choice for bonds, okay? So now we're going to go real estate, 10%, okay? And And we're going to add another group. And we are going to add real estate. Okay. Come here. And we are going to add the DRN. So DRN. There we go. Okay. And we have one more to do. So we're going to set the weight also to 10. And add block. We're going to add a group. Okay. Commodities. Now 10%. And for the commodities, oh, there's a little typo there. I'll fix that in a second. So for the one that I created that was a multi-ETF leverage version of this, I used UGL, and then there's another one for silver. So I used leveraged gold and silver. There used to be actually, and it was discontinued, there used to be a leveraged version of an overall commodity index. So DBC is just kind of a general commodity index, and there used to be something of a leverage version of that. That's been discontinued. So let's just make one choice, and usually gold is chosen over silver for most investors. So let's choose gold as our sort of leverage commodity, and let's fix the typo. Add that second M there. All right, so there we go. So we're going to call this, okay, so we're going to call this permanent, typos today, permanent store of wealth leveraged for ETFs. Okay, so now that's going to be there. Permanent store of wealth leveraged for ETFs. Perfect. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to jump the backtest. So now we're going to look at how it performed. 38.7 annualized return. Let's scroll down, look at the time on that. So wow, so that's over, the last 5 years. Now let's do this too. And this is important. Like when I'm creating these, a lot of times I play with the frequency to showcase what would be, at least in the back test, the overall highest CAGR. So it was 38.6, I believe. I think quarterly is going to be higher. That's my guess. Yeah, let me just verify. So we have 35 for monthly, sharp 0.97. Let me just verify that was, so 35 is monthly. And 38 is quarterly. Let's go yearly. And then I'm also going to go back to 2011 and do the same thing, because I'm always searching for the highest CAGR, so 31. So definitely quarterly here. And that was my guess on this as well. But let's go back now and let's jump back to, just come up, 38. Let's jump back to 2011. And for those of you who understand compound interest, you understand that 1 percentage point, a half percentage point, 2 percentage points may not seem like much, but over a 20-year investing period, that 1 or 2% can be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars difference. So it's really, really key. So that's why I'm looking. So, okay, January 1st, 2011. Let's run it. Okay, so let's scroll up here. So 33% return. Let's look at like more details here. Okay, so I mean, look at the comparison to the S&P. Trailing 1 month, trailing 3 months. Sharpe ratio is superior to the S&P. Standard deviation higher, so that would generally be a negative that it's a higher standard deviation. Max drawdown is 59, higher Kalmar ratio. So look, you're having much more of a max drawdown. But for me at least, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, not like an investing community, I'm always seeking alpha, as a reference to the site, right? So what that means, I'm going to quote the great Warren Buffett here. I'd rather have a lumpy 33.7 annualized return than a smooth 14.6. He did it with 15 and 12 when he said that, so I didn't really quote him. I changed his quote, but meaning the difference on this is massive. In fact, I didn't really plan on doing this, but let me do this. So we're at 33.7 and 14.6. So now we're going to pull up a compound interest calculator, and we're going to do it over 10 years, just for me to show you the difference over 10 years. So we're going to go, let's say you took $100,000. Okay. And we added no money, but we did 10 years because it's kind of back testing here, 10 years. Okay. And I want to make sure I get the right percentages. So I want to come back here. 33.7 and 14.6. So there's the numbers. So 33.7. Okay. So if you did this 10 years ago, you put in 100,000. That 100,000 is now 1.8 million. If you go 14.6, it's 390,000. So literally, it's about a $1.4 million difference if you bought the S&P or you bought this 10 years ago. That doesn't mean the next 10 years is going to be the same, by the way. The past is necessarily not prologue. But while I have this open, let me just showcase this over a long period and show you how 1 percentage point makes a difference. So let's draw it out again over 30 years, and let's just say one strategy is 15%, 6.6 million, and one strategy is 16. So just 1 percentage point difference over an investing lifetime, 8.5 million. So that 1 percentage point difference, is basically $2 million, right? 15, 6.6, and it looks like 8.5. So yeah, nearly $2 million, simply 1 percentage point. And this is why the super rich are the super rich. And so what I mean by that is, and I said it, I actually had dinner over the weekend, a wonderful dinner with the founder of Composer, Benjamin Rollick. And we were talking about obviously a lot of different investing strategies and his software and so on and so forth. And, one of the things I said is it comes down to that 20 to 30% CAGR. And if you look at people like Carl Icahn or David Tepper or Steve Cohen or Warren Buffett, they're generally compounding over an investing lifetime in that 20 to 30% CAGR range. And if you do that, even if you start with a small amount, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, $500,000, $1 million, over an investing lifetime, that turns into a tremendous amount. So now what I wanted to do is, this is also going to show you the beauty of Composer. Actually, before I get to that, I want to just, and this is how I do this. So I'm kind of showing my process as I create these. So now we're at 2011 versus 16. I just want to make sure Again, because you can see how consequential a single percentage point is, showing that compound interest calculator. I just want to make sure that quarterly, let's go yearly. So what is it? Doing the back test now on the, so again, it's in the high 20s. So quarterly is the way to go. Quarterly. And so I'm about to show you a really, really unique and beautiful feature of Composer. So now I'm going to go down here. Let's do it at 3 years, actually, just before I do that. I want to kind of see what the last 3 years. So we did from 2016 to 2011. This is going to go back to 18. And let's see. Wow. 42.3 annualized return. It's amazing. But now what I want to do is, so, okay, I've created basically, 4 different permanent stores of wealth. I've created 2 that are unleveraged and 2 that are leveraged. So what I want to do now is, let's say I wanted to say, like, okay, I only have 20,000 and I want to put that 20,000 into what I feel, based on the back testing, is going to perform the most alpha moving forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into benchmarks, and I'm going to go on your Symphonies, and I'm going to click on permanent store of wealth leveraged. Okay. And so now remember, this one here is a multi-ETF version of this exact same fund. So what I'm inquiring here, basically through the backtest, is, am I better off using one ETF per grouping, or should I use multi-ETFs per the 4 grouping? So I'm going to be able to compare all the metrics down here. So we're seeing that the simplest one, the 4 ETFs, at least from 2018, has outperformed the leverage version. Sharp ratio is 1, so it's a higher Sharp ratio, a lower max drawdown, and the highest CalMAR ratio. So now, and this is what I also like to do, is let's go back. So we did it from 2018. I want to compare these 2 over. You see how you can get lost in the data here? And I mean that lost in a good way, meaning you can just really, analyze things, play with, and then you can get, well, what if I added this as an ETF instead of that? And let's run the back testing from 2011, 16, 18, year to date. But let's go January 1st, 16. Let's compare them. Okay, and it looks pretty close. Wow. Let's see here. So it looks like, oh, see, this is interesting. So over the last 3 years, the 4 ETF looked like it outperformed, but here the multi ETF version outperformed. And again, you might think, oh, it's just 1 percentage point, but what did I show you here? That over an investing lifetime, 20, 30 years, that 1 percentage point difference can be hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So let's look again. Let's go. And I think for me, at least, the further you go back is what I really like to look at. So we're going to go back now to 11. 2011. There we go. Okay, January 1st, 2011. Here we go. Let's see what the data tells us. Should have it right now. Again, it looks, at least from the graph, very, very close. But let's go back. Wow. No, look at this. The annualized return is almost exactly the same, 33.7. Total return, 2007.6%, 2006.4%. Wow, what a difference. So close. So again, the winner on this is the multi-ETF version, not just the single ETF per grouping. But I mean, at this point, you're doing great with both. Okay, so that is just really showcasing. And then let me make sure I save this, because I don't think I saved it. So yeah, definitely want to make sure you save it, because otherwise, you'd have to recreate it. Not a big deal. So you want to click on save. Now it'll add into my library. So permanent spread leverage for ETF, save. Okay, so now it's saved. And there we go. So I'm going to go back. Okay. And just going back to this main screen again. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so this is the main screen. You can see all of my symphonies now. I think I'm up to like maybe 50 at this point. I mean, I have a lot, you can see here. And I think a cool feature to add, and I think they will, Bar Chart has this with their back end when I'm looking at option returns, annualized returns, is it'd be cool to be able to click on annualized return and for it to rank it from highest to lowest or lowest to highest, or rank it, click here and it would rank it via Sharpe ratio or standard deviation or max drawdown instead of just alphabetically. That would be a pretty cool feature for them to add. But so let's just go, and you'll see now we're going to see basically the trailing 12 on these two on this left here. Permanent store of wealth. So you can see one is 108, one is 83 this year. Let's see. This looks like probably the 4 ETF one. Let's see. Yeah, this is the 4 ETF one. So the 4 ETF one is outperformed. Just verify that's the one. Scrolling down. Permanent store of wealth. Yeah, it was the second one. So the 4 ETF one has outperformed 108.6 to 83.9, also on the Sharpe ratio there. So there you go. So that was basically just me taking you through creating a symphony from scratch, how I do it, and then not only how I create it, but then how I start to analyze it. And remember, I'm always seeking alpha. So for me, even if something has a lower Sharpe ratio or Kalmar ratio, if they're somewhat comparable, of course, but if the overall CAGR is higher, that's what I'm looking for. And again, that could just be a personal thing. Some people might prefer higher Sortino, Sharpe, Kalmar because volatility scares them. Or let me say it another way. I feel that I have a competitive advantage because I don't answer to anyone. I don't answer to board of directors. I don't answer to shareholders. I don't answer to people whose money I manage because I don't manage other people's money. I don't answer to another portfolio manager. So what I mean by that is not everyone can take volatility and drawdowns. And so not having to sort of appease others and defend myself to others is a huge, huge competitive advantage against others who are worried about like, well, next quarter my boss is going to rate my returns, or and this person is doing a little bit better, so what's going to happen to me? Am I going to lose? All those kind of things. So I don't answer to anyone, and so So yeah, so that's a cool thing where I'm able to kind of like go for pure alpha, um, to a certain degree. I mean, if I'm having 98% drawdown, that's another thing. But the difference between to me is 60% drawdown to 40% drawdown is negligible if that 60% drawdown over the long term is going to have a higher CAGR. So that's just, again, personal style of investing. So there you go. So created that Symphony, did all the back testing, the 2018, 16, 11, even year to date on this page. And yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be doing some more soon. Take care. Ciao.